Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Thinking Out Loud, where we are dedicated to teaching others about the oh, uh, ancient Near Eastern context of the Bible, and we do that because I have found out what's the right word here? The value in being able to link and root everything in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, into the context of that time. And we do this all the time with almost every other genre that we read, and we forget about that with the Bible. And so we're dedicated to that here on Critical Thinking Out Loud. And we're going to be continuing our study on the visible Yahweh today. That's a part of our What is the Bible series. And we always say, hey, context is key in anything, in understanding a movie, literature, any kind of content that you're engaging with. And so the same is true in this series. If you haven't gone over the Yahweh series, which is the invisible, but it's just called the Yahweh series, or the invisible Yahweh, visible Yahweh and invisible Yahweh series yet, please do so now. We have links to both of those in the description section, and it will be much more beneficial for you in this teaching. This is the fourth in the visible Yahweh, and so it's building off of all the other stuff, as we will say here in a minute. And so all the links are in the description section. If you want to go down there and click on those links, there's links to our recommended resources, which we're going to be talking about. There's links to all the other content, to all the other teachings, and links to be able to donate to help out Critical Thinking Out Loud if you feel so led to do so. And so let's get started. Again, click on the link in the description section and you can follow along with what I'm saying here. It says today's teaching. And so let's jump into the visible Yahweh part 4 in What is the Bible's Main Character, as a part of What is the Bible series. This is our foundational series, and again, I was praying about where to take Critical Thinking Out Loud past October, and I just felt the Lord saying the same thing I felt in my church, was to start with the foundation. Don't assume that everybody is on the same page as you, Josh. Start with the foundation and then work from there. And so that's what we are doing here on Critical Thinking Out Loud. We wanted to start with the foundational series of this. What is the Bible's main character? And so we just wanted to welcome everybody back to Critical Thinking Out Loud and this next installment of the Visible Yahweh as what is the Bible's main characters teaching. Again, this will be the last one in the visible Yahweh. We're going to be moving on to Jesus next week, which is going to be awesome. We're going to link it all back to this, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. This is another component to our foundational series, What is the Bible? And so all the What is the Bible series is basically a book that I wrote in Turkish for the Turkish congregation. They didn't have the same. Sorry guys, my camera's kind of moving on me. I'm gonna have to straighten it out. That's why the back looks kind of funky, but I'm trying to fix it. It's kind of just moving. I don't know. It's getting warmer here, so where was I? Sorry about that. Oh, the What is the Bible series, and I wrote a book in Turkish to help out my congregation to get into. It's kind of like a foundational book where, and it links a lot of like New Testament ideas back into the Old Testament, I guess is the best way to say it. And a lot of people would ask me, hey, how can I read this book in English? I said, I can't, because I wrote it all in Turkish, just straight in Turkish. And so then I started doing Critical Thinking Out Loud to have these resources in English and in Turkish, so both sides of the congregation will be on the same page in the future as we start running conferences and stuff like that. And so that's what the What is the Bible? It's just my book that's in Turkish put into a different format, i.e. blog format, and I'm just writing it out like this for English speakers. And so the Turkish congregation that I lead is on the same page, and we love teaching the ancient Near Eastern context of the biblical authors. It is our firm belief that it is the proper context to interpret the Bible through. Our hopes is that that with this information, you will be able to form a portfolio about the ancient Near Eastern worldview to keep in the forefront of your minds to help guide you while studying the Bible. That's what I do. I'll show you these resources here in a second. Being aware of the context of any subjects helps one to ground the content they are engaging with in something much larger. The same is true on the topic today, and we will be building off past installments of the What is the Bible series. If you haven't had a chance to check out the other material yet, get the larger context for this teaching first by clicking on the link highlighted right there. On the page today, we'll be continuing our study on how the invisible Yahweh reveals himself visibly to humanity in the form of a man via the rider on the clouds. That's the fourth one, guys. So how are we going to learn? The same as before in this teaching, while we're looking at the topic of the rider on the cloud, man theophany in the ancient Near Eastern biblical author's worldview. As I've done in the past with the other teachings, I want to quote from scholarly sources, guys, because this may be something new to you. And I want to make my point that this isn't just my interpretation of the scriptures, but this is steeped in academia. Lots of academics think the same thing. And so that's why I quote out of these sources, just to give you guys some confidence that this isn't just Josh's wacky interpretation. This is actually Old Testament scholarly what's the word there? Resources that are, they're just not a wacky view. Yeah, it can seem really strange at first, but I'm telling you, the more that you ground yourself in here, the more clarity, you'll see clarity like you never have before in the Bible. And that's why I'm teaching this stuff. And so we'll be using the two amazing recommended resources. The first one's free, Faith Life Study Bible. That is available online. It's available on I was like, where's my iPad? I use it on my iPad because it's a bit bigger and I can see everything, but it's a study Bible and it's for free. You can click on the links there and it will take you right to the website and you can just download it and start using it. There's no reason you shouldn't be using this resource now, especially if you've been following me. It's free. All you have to do is click on the and download it. Faith Life Study Bible. The next one is the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, and this is my favorite resources for gaining a better understanding of the ancient Near Eastern worldview. You can basically open it up to any page, and there's going to be a article in there, in the same as with the Faith Life Study Bible. I'm reading Esther right now, and it's just amazing. It has so much background information, and you can get this by clicking on the link, and that's going to cost you some money, but just like it cost me, but it's been such a good resource, and I know that some of you guys out there have purchased that, and we hope that you're enjoying it, and you can get that from our recommended resource page for no extra charge to you, but it helps us out here at Critical Thinking Out Loud. So let's get started. Our teaching on the visible Yahweh. Oh, where did we go? Okay, there we go. Our teaching on the visible Yahweh centers around the ancient Near Eastern biblical author's description of the invisible God revealing himself visibly to humanity through the theophany of a man. In the Old Testament, this man theophany is described in four ways. This is the fourth one, guys, we're going over. Over the past weeks, we covered the other three of these, which were, let me fix this real quick. The Word, the Angel of the Lord, the Name. And this week we'll be covering the fourth and final way the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors described this man theophany. Now, what is theophany? I want to remind you guys. Remember, theophany is a visible manifestation of a deity revealed to humanity. Throughout this teaching, or this devotional, we have been looking at the ancient Near Eastern view of theophany and the role it plays in the pantheon of a nation. So here is, let me do something real quick. Here is a quote from our recommended resource. Since people cannot possibly process God's nature as a disembodied Formless spirit, theophany allows God to make his presence known in a physical way that people can discern through their senses. Now, that's from Faith Life Study Bible in the article Theophany in the Old Testament. It has a whole section there talking about theophany, guys. That's where I'm drawing this from. So basically, theophany is just any deity. We're talking about Yahweh today, but any deity making himself known through the senses of humanity that they can understand. So God uses theophanies many times throughout the Hebrew Bible. Fire, a still small voice, a storm cloud are only a couple of examples of God communicating to humanity via theophanies. During these devotions, we have been focusing especially on the ancient Near Eastern theophany of a man and its counterpart in the belief of a Godhead of the ancient Israelites. There we go. This is all the groundwork for Godhead theology in the Old Testament, as we've been saying. Sorry, like I said, my camera keeps going a little wacky. I think it's just because it's getting really nice here and warmer, guys. So praise God for that, but it's affecting my camera stand for some reason. But oh well, this is where the Godhead theology, the Trinity, is rooted in Old Testament theology, in New Testament theology even too. It carries over covenant theology. Over the course of the past 3 installments, we learned that the invisible God appears to humanity visibly in the form of the Word. That was our first teaching. The angel of the Lord. The second, the name, last week's teaching. And then if you haven't gone over that content yet, again, click there. Don't go through this without that context. It's going to really help you. For the fourth week of the Visible Yahweh mini-series, we are going to be learning how Yahweh's theophany appears to humans as a man via the Cloud Rider. Identifying the Cloud Rider is going to be similar to the other Visible Yahweh devotionals of this series that we have looked at thus far. This new outlook may come as a bit of a surprise to us due to the fact that we have most likely have already formed a certain understanding of these familiar texts. I've said this for 3 weeks now. This is the 4th week that this is nothing really new, or these verses is like not super obscure. Actually, it's kind of the exact opposite. These are some of the most well-known verses in the whole of the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. In the fact that Moses at the burning bush, most even kids, my kids would be able to tell us that story. We just never understood that the angel of the Lord, or we didn't pick up on the clue that the angel of the Lord is in the burning bush with him. The angel of the Lord is the one who goes to Egypt with Moses. The angel of the Lord is the one who kills the firstborn sons of Egypt. The angel of the Lord leads him out in a cloud of smoke and fire and defends him against the army. It's the angel of the Lord that takes him to the mountain. So that's a really well-known passage. Samuel being called in the temple, that's really well-known. I'm going through the book of Samuel audibly right now. And when the Lord calls out to Samuel, it's amazing that we've always just heard that as an audible, but it says he's physically standing in front of him. Again, Genesis 15 with Abraham. He's sitting there and he's talking with a vision, and we always just assume that it's probably audible, and that's where we're saying no, there's much more to these verses that we have become familiar with, and that way we kind of glaze over. I do that too. So let's look and critically think aloud together at the details of these things. And we're going to be looking at a really well-known passage today out of Daniel 7. So the Cloud Rider, this is Daniel's vision out of Daniel 7, 9 through 16. Again, if you're on the page with us, click on the link. It'll take you there, or it's written down. I'm going to read this. It's, quote, "As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took a seat. His clothing was as white as snow. The hair on his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and the wheels were all ablaze. A river of fire was flowing, coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him. Tens of thousands times tens of thousands stood before him. The court was seated and the books were open. Then I continued to watch because of the boastful words of the horn speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain and its body destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. The other beasts had been stripped of their authority, but were allowed to live for a period of time. In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. That's Daniel, end quote, Daniel 7, 9 through 16. There's a lot going on there, guys. And I don't mention this later, so I'll just say it now. The wheels were all ablaze and the fire coming out before him and all this stuff. If you guys stick around for Critical Thinking Out Loud after our What is the Bible series, which is going to take some time, we're going to get into this stuff, how God rides on God has a car, for the best way that we can describe it, but he rides around the universe on something. It's really cool. The Merkava that he rides around on, and he does that because he rides around with his whole family, and he doesn't go anywhere. It's like the president of the United States, he rolls around with people, or I guess the Queen in the UK. They have a whole big entourage, and so does God. It's to tell us royalty. It's to communicate that he is in a big family, all that kind of stuff, which we love to talk about later on Critical Thinking Out Loud. But that's just kind of sorry about the camera. Every time I go back to it, I'm like, it's all crooked. Our floors are crooked here, but they're not that crooked. This is the camera. So let's check this out. What an amazing passage of scripture. Seriously, guys, I love this stuff. About talking about this. You guys have seen me now quite a bit that I get really excited about this kind of stuff. And it's because it's just so cool. This is New Testament theology in the Old Testament because context matters. And for many of us, this may be familiar due to its messianic language. Looking again at carefully at the details, though, did you notice what is being said? We see two powers in heaven. We've been talking about this the whole time, that all this stuff is rooted in the Israelites' two powers in heaven. Don't get tripped up with what I'm talking about. There's still a Trinity. We're going to talk about that. This is the ancient Israelite way of looking at two powers, the Ancient of Days sitting upon the throne, and one like the Son of Man coming on the clouds. Both of these powers are described with attributes that only Yahweh possesses. We know now because they're both Yahweh. This is because in this passage there are two forms of Yahweh present. The Ancient of Days and one like the Son of Man. Isn't it interesting that in this passage, the visible Yahweh coming on the clouds is described as one like the Son of Man? This idea has been at the center of our visible Yahweh study. The visible Yahweh of the Old Testament is revealed to humans in the form of a man. Here's a couple of quotes from one of the recommended resources to help guide us through this thought. This is the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, guys, Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days in Canaanite, so this is where they go, in Canaanite mythology, the head of the pantheon is El, who is depicted as an aged person. Obviously, Ancient of Days. Back to the quote. Among his titles are Judge, Father, and the phrase that is usually taken to mean Father of Years. This suggests that Daniel is using imagery and descriptions that would have been well known to his audience, end quote. And that's in the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, Notes on Daniel 7-9 on page 1436 for those who have the source. So did you catch that? This in Canaanite mythology, Father of Years, Judge, is who El is. They're the head of their pantheon. And Daniel's drawing on this to get their minds to go someplace where he's taking them. And again, like the Son of Man, this is from the same resource. One like the Son of Man. In Aramaic and Hebrew, the phrase Son of Man is simply a common expression to describe someone or something as human or human-like, a humanoid, if we will. End quote, a humanoid, if we will. That's me talking. And this is the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, notes on Daniel 7:13 on page 1436. So you guys can go look at that if you have that resource. But again, you have this ancient judge on the throne with fire coming out and stuff like that. And he has white clothes and hair, but that's because they're just trying to describe something. But the other one is a humanoid, is a human-like. So constantly here on Critical Thinking Out Loud, we talk about, kind of shout about if I get all excited, how the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors use elements from their surrounding ancient Near Eastern neighbors to declare truth in their writings. Why wouldn't they? That's their context. People who make movies today make them in a context that we can understand. So we should automatically think that the direct context of the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors is the ancient Near East. Throughout this devotion, we have been revealing that the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors recorded how the invisible God chose to reveal himself to humanity in the form of a man. This is ancient Israelite theology here. While both of these divine characters described by Daniel possess anthropomorphic elements, human elements, or embodied elements, or bodied elements, anthropomorphic. So like a hand or hair. There we go. It says hair. Elements. Only the cloud rider is expressively described as being human-like or humanoid. Only the cloud rider, he says, is like the Son of Man, which is like human. The divine rider on the clouds is a man. A divine man is the one seen riding on the clouds. These are the conclusions we can draw, guys. This man theophany is known throughout the Old Testament in the description of the Word, the angel of the Lord, the name, and the cloud rider. All of these motifs are used for describing the invisible Yahweh's visible form. Ancient Near Eastern context. Yahweh appears as a man theophany riding on the clouds, appearing as a man riding on the clouds in this theophany, has deep theological roots in the ancient Near East. Here's another quote from the same resource. Quote, coming on the clouds of heaven. In ancient Near Eastern literature, clouds are often associated with the appearance of deities. In the Old Testament, it is Yahweh, the God of Israel, who rides on the clouds as his chariot in Psalm 104 and Isaiah 19:1. In Canaanite mythology, Baal, the son of El, is described as rider slash charioteer of the clouds, end quote. And that's from the NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, notes on Daniel 7:13 on the page 1436. So here we go. Let's draw some conclusions. The father judge. This is all in Canaanite mythology. So anybody hearing Daniel, let's just say that, in the ancient Near East, they're going to say the father judge and his son riding on the clouds are both familiar images in their mind in the ancient Near East. Hopefully there are a lot of dots that are starting to connect here for you guys. Why these things are all messianic in nature, why they're all in the form of a man. These Old Testament passages are setting us up, or setting, let's say more accurately, are setting the New Testament writers up to draw on these references, which they do, and then put somebody's name in there, Jesus's name in there, because it's really all about Jesus. This is Jesus in the Old Testament. This is the Colossians. He is the visible expression of the invisible God. Well, who's the visible expression of the invisible God in the Old Testament? The Word, the angel of the Lord, the name, and the cloud rider. Who's he in the New Testament? He's Jesus. And again, like when we saw, which one was that? on one of these. I can't remember right now. I think it was the name, or maybe it was the angel of the Lord. You'll have to go back and look at that. But in the New Testament, where this one is, I think it's the angel of the Lord, is in the storyline of the Old Testament in Exodus. Jude in the New Testament, referring to that, says that it's Jesus. He just literally puts Jesus's name in that New Testament slot because they're all drawing upon this, because they're all knowing that the Father judge and the one riding on the clouds is Yahweh, and the one on the clouds is the rider on the clouds, the Son. And for them, in ancient Israelite theology, or even ancient Canaanite theology, these guys are all connecting these dots that, hey, this is really polemic. Well, I said that in, I'm pretty sure it was the word. Polemic is basically just an assault on an idea. Actually, I think it was last week in the name, is they take the idea of the ancient Canaanite religion, and then they say, no, it's not El, it's Yahweh. No, it's not Baal, it's the rider on the clouds, or it's the name. And they do this. It's a subversion of their thoughts to put in a true theology there. And that's and so I hope these dots are starting to connect. Next week, it'll be crystal clear because we're going to go into the New Testament and draw the references over, which is just basically New Testament writings. The New Testament didn't come out of anywhere. The New Testament writers' Bible was the Old Testament. So we got to be careful with how we view the Old Testament, guys. It's so valuable. Psalm 68. Sing to God. Sing in praise of his name. Whoa, there we go, a name. Exalt him who rides on the clouds. Rejoice before him. His name is the Lord. That's Psalm 68:4. Obviously, the psalmist is connecting a lot of dots already for us. The name, his name, it's him who rides on the cloud, and his name is the Lord. This guy's got it. And we are starting to, too. This passage combines the name theology that we looked at last week with the rider on the clouds. Both the name and the one who rides on the clouds are describing the visible Yahweh. Amen. Here's yet another quote from our resource, NIV Cultural Background Study Bible. Love this thing. Quote, rides on the clouds. An Ugaritic Baal cycle, Baal is regularly referred to as the rider on the clouds. References can be found in both the Baal cycle and in the Ankh legend. This image of power over the winds and weather stands as another example of the psalmist using descriptions of the gods that were familiar in other cultures. In doing so, they are asserting Yahweh's control over nature and nations. That's Psalm 104:3 and Jeremiah 4:13. A control elsewhere attributed to other gods. End quote. The NIV Cultural Background Study Bible's notes on Psalm 68:4 on page 943. So you get this. This is all called polemic. They're taking the Baal cycle. This is not, we would not say that's a holy book. That's, or the Ankh legends. They're taking these ideas and they're subverting them with Yahweh. Why? To prove that he is more powerful, that he's the true God. It's not Baal, it's the rider on the clouds in the Israelite theology. And so this is a subversive way of doing this. It is an awesome way. It's a literary device that they use, a polemic, and it just shows you the depth and what's the right word there? The depth of God's Spirit moving upon these authors to make his name, glorify his name, even using these fake and phony writing. So like the Baal cycle, that is not inspired as we would think inspired. text, but they're taking these elements and they're drawing people from the culture that they're in. So like Daniel was doing, I'm going to use what you believe and then I'm going to teach you the truth out of it. It's just awesome. It's polemics, guys. We're going to get into that. It's used all the time in the Bible, and we're going to get into that. So polemics. This is one of the many examples of the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors' use of polemic or the polemic literary device in the Old Testament. Polemic is basically a verbal or written attack on a known idea. So Baal is known as the storm rider, the storm god, the rider on the clouds. Well, guys, it's not that big of a gap to think who calmed the storm in the New Testament. Those guys, or let's just say Matthew or Luke, use that story. And what did they all say? They're all shocked because they say, who can do this? In their minds, even if they're Israelites, they know because of their context, Baal does this. Baal can do this. And Baal is the son who rides on the clouds. This is a massive connection. And Jesus did it, the son who rides on the clouds, the true son. And so this is all done purposefully, guys, to draw, to connect dots for us. The ancient Near Eastern biblical authors use polemics all the time to assert Yahweh as the one true God in place of his ancient Near Eastern counterpart. So the visible Yahweh, he asserts his place where Baal is supposed to be, because Baal is fake. Stay tuned. Over the next year, we are going to start to looking more in depth at where and how the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors used polemic as a key literary device. Just to show my hand a little bit, guys, Genesis 1 and 2. There is lots of evidence that that is a polemic against the creation accounts of Canaan and Ugarit and stuff like that. It's still true. It doesn't mean that it's not true if it's a literary device. If we can wrap our brains around that, he's still saying it could still be, 1,000 years if you're an old earther, or a couple literal 6 days if you're a literalist, and all that kind of stuff. We're not saying that these truths aren't real. We're just saying that the way that these truths are framed are in the way that a Canaanite or Ugarit or anybody who would be originally the first audience who's hearing it, they would say, oh yeah, of course, we already know this story. But instead of El or Baal, it's Yahweh. And they'd be like, whoa, it would actually be offensive because they're attacking the deity that's false, and they're supplanting that with a truth of Yahweh. And so it's just an amazing, amazing, amazing study, and it's all over the place. It's rampant. So Yahweh is the cloud rider. Here's yet another quote from our other recommended resource that gives us more insight into the cloud rider. This is the Faith Life Study Bible, the free one, guys. Quote, another motif in the Old Testament that indicates that there is an Israelite binatarian Godhead is the rider on the clouds. Although this epithet is a well-known title for Baal, the Hebrew Bible consistently uses it in similar designations to refer exclusively to Yahweh. Here's some: Psalm 68:4, 68:33, Psalms 104:3, Deuteronomy 33:26, Isaiah 19:1, with one exception: the Son of Man in Daniel 7:13. This human figure, though distinct from the Ancient of Days, the enthroned deity in Daniel 7, bears a title reserved exclusively for Yahweh in the Old Testament. That's Faith Life Study Bible. In the article, Old Testament Godhead Language, again, in that resource, there's articles. It's chocked full of articles. You just go in there and you look in the study Bible notes on the bottom, and it's got graphs, it's got everything, and it's free. There's no reason not to get it. So here's me commenting on that. Throughout the Old Testament, the rider on the clouds is always referred to Yahweh, except for this one occasion in Daniel 7. The ancient Near Eastern biblical authors was clearly communicating to their readers that they believed Yahweh in the form of a man is the rider on the clouds. They believe the rider on the clouds is Yahweh in the form of a man. So back to that quote, let me just break in here. Psalms 68:4, 68:33, 104:3, Deuteronomy 33:26, Isaiah 19:1, all talk about Yahweh as the rider on the clouds, the storm. He's the guy on the storm. He's got his weapons, which are like hail and even meteors, I would say, a lot of stuff like that. And it's always Yahweh in the Old Testament. And then Daniel 7:13 comes around, and it's the Ancient of Days, one like the son of, it's not the Ancient of Days, Yahweh, who's in the passage. It's the one like the Son of Man who comes and takes all and gets all authority given to him by the Ancient of Days. So, yes, this is very stark. All of the ancient Near Eastern counterparts, so people in Ugaritic, or the Ugaritic belief, ancient Ugaritic, the Canaanites, all these guys would be able to hear this passage, and they would draw or be led to draw the same conclusions as an ancient Israelite would when they hear, whoa, there's this second power here. We cannot get away from it. I don't care if you don't like binatarian, Godhead is the rider on the clouds. If you're tripped up on binatarian, free yourself, because I'm telling you right now that the Spirit of God is moving these people to do that. We're going to look, actually, we'll probably look at that next week. I'm sorry, guys. I'll amend the schedule. We'll look at that, and then we'll look at Jesus on the week after that, because binatarian Godhead isn't for us today. Binatarian Godhead is the ancient Israel belief, and it's not even, it's true to say that there's a binatarian Godhead in that there's an invisible one and there's a visible one, but then the relation between them, just like in the Trinity, is that they share this relationship via the Spirit. And we see that in Ezekiel 8, just off the top of my head, and I'll pull up some more. But Ezekiel 8, the visible God's there, the invisible God there, and then the Spirit grabs him by the hair and ships him off to the temple. All three of those things working together. So don't get tripped up on because you hear binatarian, like I'm trying to change something that's in stone. It's actually Trinitarian, but we're not talking about us for today. If I was teaching you just today, which I am, it's Trinitarian. The Spirit of God's in the mix. I'm talking about the ancient Near Eastern belief, and I'm not going to change their belief in what they said up until the 2nd century AD. They had this belief system. They only changed it in the 2nd century AD because they didn't like how the Christians had taken this and ran with it and found it all in the Old Testament. Because the Israelite religion is our religion amended for these motifs being Jesus. That's basically all we're saying right now, is that this is all Orthodox Christianity, Orthodox Judaism, but the one who is the second person of the Trinity for us, or the binatarian, which is just two, a Godhead of the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors, is Jesus. It's just as simple as that, guys. So sorry, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but I get fired up about this stuff. So we'll start to wrap it up because I can see we're going on 40 minutes here. So God chose to appear to us. We've said this the whole time. The Trinity that we have come to know as Christians is rooted in Old Testament theology. Ever since the beginning, the invisible God has chosen to make himself known to humans through his visible manifestation in the form of a man. Before his incarnation, Jesus, the visible Yahweh, was known in the Old Testament as the second person of the Trinity by 4 different descriptions. In the 4 weeks of this mini-series on the visible Yahweh, we have discussed all of Yahweh's man theophany motifs. The Word, the angel of the Lord, the name, and the rider on the cloud. And all of these are used in the Old Testament to describe the visible God appearing in visible form, the invisible God appearing in visible form to humans as a man. I want to leave you with this last quote that I've left you with every week, and it's Theophanies, quote, "Theophanies set the precedent for Jesus. They help make sense of why and how God chose to appear in human form," end quote, from Faith Life Study Bible, in the article Theophany in the Old Testament. In the next installment of Critical Thinking Out Loud, we will see how these four motifs govern. Now, I'm going to change that. Like I said, I'm going to make that in the Spirit of God, because I did hear from someone who went through our Bible, who was going through this, and he did raise a concern. Are you teaching something new that's away from Orthodox Christianity? And I said, no, it's actually the opposite. I'm trying to bring people back to Orthodox Christianity, because most people who love the Trinity and ascribe to a Trinity, they can't place where the Trinity came from. And I would bet, like myself, thought that it was a New Testament invention's not a good word, but a New Testament thought. That couldn't be farther from the truth. All New Testament theology is rooted in the Old Testament, because the Old Testament was the Bible of the day. They couldn't have had new theology just appear out of nowhere. It is all rooted in the Old Testament. It fulfills the Old Testament. It didn't come to take the place of the Old Testament. It came to fulfill it, to give us more insight into it. And so, peace and blessings to you guys. I really enjoy this mini-series. This is my bread and butter. This is the thing that I love. I could talk about this all the time. I've been teaching it for like 2.5 years or something like that. That's not a complaint or anything. I'm blessed because I did it in Turkish. Now I'm doing it in English. I'm going to teach it for the rest of my life, and I'm just going to learn more and more. I want to cite these things. Oh, sorry, guys. I want to cite these things for you. This is Faith Life Study Bible by J.D. Barry at at a Bellingham, Washington, Logos Bible Software, 2012. And the other one is NIV Cultural Background Study Bible, Grand Rapids, Michigan, USA, Zondervan, 2016. Call for action, guys. We just want you to remember that biblical doctrine derives from the biblical text. I'm not making this stuff up. I gave you primary sources. I gave you the texts themselves. It's up to you to adopt this worldview, which I believe is the ancient Near Eastern biblical authors' worldview. I think that we've gotten a little off the path today in just teaching, because we're looking at it from a 16th century, 10th century, even 5th century, if I dare say, right after, or 4th and 5th century with Augustine. These guys were in a completely different language, Latin at that time, and then even up into English and stuff in the later centuries, and they're away from the Hebrew roots. And I'm not talking about the Hebrew roots movement. I'm just saying it's Greek influence, it's Latin influence. They grew away from the church fathers and Judaism altogether, and I think we lost a lot of that, and we're trying to bring that back now, guys. We're not trying to teach some new crazy doctrine. We're trying to take it back to the Orthodox way of looking at these things, which includes the Old Testament. So to help us out, guys, if you would want to help us out by learning more, we really encourage that. Our favorite Bibles are for sale or you can get those, pick those up on our recommended resource, hard copy, soft copy like this. This is the NIV because I read it to you guys and it's the easiest way I have felt, but then have the New King James, they have the King James, they have pretty sure they have the ESV and the NRSV and all those things. So you can go ahead and poke around on the links right there and get one. It helps support us, and you get it at no extra cost to you. We have our book that we translated, our foundational book that we translated into Turkish, which goes through a lot of this stuff. We just love these things. There's links for the UK, for the US, and we just want to thank you guys for everything that you've done. I wanted to say thank you for being with me this week. It got changed from Tuesday. I'm going to shoot for Tuesday next week. My little guy who you guys saw come in last week, it was his birthday on Tuesday, so I took off and spent the whole day with him, and he had a great birthday. So thank you guys for your birthday wishes and for your support. We love you guys, and we will see you next week as we look at the Spirit as a crucial part of the binary Godhead of the ancient Israelites and the New Testament Trinitarian theology that we subscribe today, how it's all rooted back in the Old Testament. So we love you guys. God bless.